Hey everyone, so a senior concept artist from Industrial Light and Magic named Steven Zavala has posted some concept art from the Bumblebee movie, and it's basically art of various different characters that we saw in the Cybertron sequences that he designed, and he's put them on his ArtStation page. So let's do this. Let's start with Ratchet. He was the first character that we really properly got a look at, and can I just say, see when Ratchet first appeared in the movie, when I was in the cinema and the movie started and the Cybertron scene burst into action, and then Ratchet appeared in his G1-esque glory, I knew I was in for a fun ride. So here's Steven's concept art for Ratchet, and he talks about how basically Ratchet, when he was designing him, was pretty much more or less a clone of the Ironhide design, and he was basically talking about how you needed to basically populate Cybertron with as many Autobots and Decepticons as they could. So he pretty much took the Ironhide design and pretty much cloned it and basically just made a few different changes to him to ultimately get Ratchet. Again, like most of the characters in the Bumblebee movie, Ratchet is very heavily inspired by his G1 design, but obviously tweaked and modified for live action. As we can see, he looks fantastic, very visually appealing as well. I find it kind of interesting how Ratchet's head crest, in this particular piece of concept art, his head crest is grey, which is more accurate to how Ratchet appeared in the Generation 1 cartoon, but obviously for the movie they changed his crest from grey to red, which is more kind of reminiscent of Ratchet from Transformers Animated and Transformers Prime. I think both look good, but it's kind of interesting how they obviously went with that design choice. It seems to be how Ratchet's crest is more kind of looking nowadays. It looks very nice. And then obviously on his shoulder pieces right there, they couldn't use the Red Cross symbol because that obviously belongs to Red Cross, but it's kind of nice how they got around that with just standard red panels on his shoulders. Like, they keep the same general appearance, but obviously making a few modifications here and there, and I think Steven did a wonderful job putting Ratchet's design together. And then obviously the next character that appeared is of course Ironhide. He appeared next to Ratchet in that opening sequence, and just like Ratchet, Ironhide looks absolutely stunning. He looks exactly how Ironhide should look. Very big, very beefy, very bulky. Looks like he could survive a skirmish. Steven points out how he's the basest body of the Autobot army, and he says funny how this was designed first and it's not that featured that much in the final movie. Final details on the head and chest were done by Alex Yeager. Yeah, I would definitely like to have seen more of Ironhide and the other Autobots, but it's cool he was there in the first place, and just looking at that up close, that looks absolutely superb. Very heavily inspired by G1, but they've again modified him for a more live action appearance. So they've added in loads of different intricate details with little panels and battle damage and circuitry around the eyes and some vents along the side of the head. So I think these designs really prove that Generation 1 designs can work in live action if done correctly. Then we have Arcee here looking absolutely fantastic. Definitely, in my opinion, a huge improvement over how she appeared in the Bayverse. Now, I didn't particularly mind how she appeared in the Bayverse. The one thing I kind of liked about the Bayverse was the very interesting and very unusual, very alien-esque designs. But this design for Arcee is, in my opinion at least, definitely the best live action one we've got. It's just quintessentially Arcee. They've fantastically recreated the kind of Princess Leia hair buns that are on her head and gave her the very nice color palette of pink and white and the nice blue eyes. Even give her backpack back there. I don't know if it's particularly clear what she transforms into. Maybe it's a kind of Cybertronian car. Maybe it's a motorcycle, because if you look at her robot mode right here, you can only see 2 wheels. So maybe that implies that she transforms into a kind of Cybertronian motorcycle. I'm not quite sure. Maybe we'll get to see some of that in the future. Steven over here says that this is by far his favorite Transformer design for the movie. He says, for all these concepts, I tried to retain the essence of the G1 cartoon designs. I grew up with them, so I wanted to update the designs, not change them. And honestly, I think he did a fantastic job. I'm sure you'll agree that these are absolutely stunning designs and definitely made a lot of us Transformers fans happy. So here we have Wheeljack, and Steven says that this was the very first Transformer that he designed for the show, and he was the one that took the longest to approve. And he says Wheeljack was a character that Travis Knight specifically wanted in the movie, so he figured that he'd better do him first to fine-tune him the most compared to the other Transformers. And like all the others, I think Steven and Alex Yeager, the art director, knocked it out of the park with Wheeljack right here. Now, one thing I'm seeing that some people are saying about this design for Wheeljack is that they're saying that he looks a little short, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. I think it's his legs are maybe a little too short. Maybe if they made them just a tad bit longer, maybe he would have looked slightly more in proportion. But as he is, I still think he looks fantastic. They got all the beats of Wheeljack's design in there. They got the flashing blue lights in his head. They got the big panel pieces on his back, and the color palette is just stunning. It just pops right out at you. The green, the red, the white, the black. It's just such a visually appealing design. And it's color designs like these that I really so loved in the Bumblebee movie, because in a lot of the previous movies, some of the characters that should have been so eye-popping in terms of colored were just either left unpainted in just standard grey, or were hardly seen at all. And it was a real shame, because Transformers in the cartoons were always very vibrant and colourful characters, so it's fantastic that they took full advantage of that for the Bumblebee movie. And I'm sure many people were very, very happy because of it. And here we have Brawn looking big and beefy, just like his buddy Ironhide. I'm not sure, who do you think would win in a fight between Ironhide and Brawn? Do let me know. But here he is looking fantastic and instantly recognisable. And really not a whole lot was changed from the basic model, and then to the detailed model, and then to the textured model, which is the model used in the film. But we get an up-close look at the face, and the face looks stunning looking. Look at that. It's really cool that kind of around the helmet piece of his head, there's these really cool little patterns on the forehead and on the side of his head right there, with the kind of different shapes and the lines and the little panels, and a nice kind of silver lining around the outside of it. And if we compare Brawn's cartoon model with the model used in the movie, you can see that on the cartoon, behind Brawn's head, it's just kind of like this big block piece. But in the movie, they made it into this big, round, kind of sort of hood piece. So that's definitely a very interesting design choice, but it looks amazing. Very, very cool design. I absolutely love it. I nearly jumped out my seat when I saw him in the movie, and I very, very much feared for his life when he got shot in the shoulder. And if you've seen the 1986 movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and I must say that his design for Shockwave was most certainly logical. Sorry, couldn't resist. But as briefly as we saw Shockwave in the movie, boy did he make an impression. This is a stunning update of Shockwave's design, and honestly, comparing him to how he appeared in Dark of the Moon, see, for me it's a kind of tricky one, because I always loved his appearance in Dark of the Moon. I think the only thing that was missing was just the purple and the personality, but this Shockwave has it all: the purple, the cannon, and the personality. John Bailey did a great job, by the way, shout out to him. But Steven's design here looks phenomenal. As we can see, here's the simple design, and then there's the more kind of intricate CGI model. Especially from the back here, you can see all the different wires and cables and pistons and hydraulics, and it just really puts into perspective just how much goes into these character models. Even if you see them only briefly, so much goes into them. It's incredible, and it definitely pays off, because like I said, even if they're on screen for just a short amount of time, they make a huge impression on us. And taking an up close look at Shockwave, you can see all the battle damage on him and the yellow eye. And here's something that's rather interesting: these pieces on his shoulder here, they kind of remind me of G1 Starscream, and even from the Bumblebee movie, but I can't remember, like, has Shockwave ever had shoulder bits like this before? Maybe they're just new additions to Shockwave, but nonetheless they look very good on him. And I like how for this time around the cannon on Shockwave is on his left arm, because in Dark of the Moon his cannon was obviously on the right, which it's not terrible, his arm being on the right, but for Shockwave, I just prefer his cannon being on the left arm, in the same way that Megatron's cannon is usually on his right arm. It just fits the character, I think. So I'm very glad they went with that, and I am super glad that they went with the yellow eye. I just think the yellow eye looks fantastic on Shockwave. And last but certainly not least, we have Ravage, Soundwave's chest minion. And this is a very interesting design for Ravage. You can see that one of the early designs for Ravage was very, very heavily inspired by his G1 self. There's G1 Ravage right there. It's a very simple design with a black and white and the silver and a bit of red here and there and the yellow for the eyes. This design definitely screams G1. Steven says that we originally tried the Puma approach, but as we progressed and began wondering why Ravage should look like a creature from Earth, we tried to make him more of a hybrid inspired by dragons, wolves, and the Puma. We put those together for the final version, and I completely understand that, and I gotta say, the way he looks in the film looks fantastic. A very visually dynamic design. Parts of him remind me of Laserbeak with the white and the red and the black. Like, as you can see here, there's a lot of white in his back. Like, I'll be honest, like, see if they went for the more black and white Puma approach, like, I'd be completely fine with that. But equally, I think this looks awesome as well, and I'm perfectly happy with how he looked in the film. He looked stunning, he looked fierce, he looked awesome, he looked badass. The way he popped out of Soundwave's chest just made me almost jump out my seat with excitement. So it was definitely fantastic to see him in this design. Did not disappoint, in my opinion. I think they did a wonderful job with Ravage, so well done, you guys. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed that little look at these awesome pieces of concept art from Steven Zavala. I highly recommend you go check out his page right here. He does so many awesome pieces of art right here, and they are absolutely stunning. Go check him out, go show him some support. He is an amazing artist, and I definitely hope we see more of him in the future. He is amazing. Go check him out. Steven, great job, man. But let me know with a comment or a video response what you guys think. Do you like these character designs? Were you as ecstatic to see them on the big screen as I was? Do let me know. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one.